The play-by-play. The play-by-play. Student Sports Network. The best students of sports. Evening, everybody. I am the producer voice, but tonight I might actually have to do some arguing. We'll see how this goes. As always, have 4 students with us. One of our students had a birthday. We kind of want to wish him a happy birthday that he forgot about it being his birthday somehow. And then we also had a kid that we're supposed to be here as well, but sometimes teenagers or young teenagers, 10-year-old, 13, 12-year-olds, however old these kids are, they get a little distracted in life. But today we got 3 kids with us so far. We'll see if the 4th one pops up. Chase Coburn is with us, a big Baltimore, D.C. fan and Connecticut Husky fan. Matthew Heiserman, Baltimore area and the Baltimore, D.C. fan. And Jacob, as we know, well, he's just a hopeless case from last time as we talked about, a Detroit and Cleveland fan. So we'll see if I have to show my face anytime soon if our people don't come in, because I might have to. So we'll see what happens here. But let's get started with our opening argument. If I have to make arguments to make it a still 4-person argument, I will make a 4-person argument. So, opening argument for this evening is, who do you think will be the best quarterback in this year's draft? So let's wait for the graphic to pop up. Did it pop up?
Mm-hmm.
We're having some technical difficulty. There we go. Opening argument. Who will be the best quarterback in this draft class? So let's start with Jacob. Jacob, since you were on here last week, you are the veteran of For Your Thoughts. Who do you think is going to be the best quarterback in this draft class?
Protesting.
Well, this may be biased because I am an Ohio State fan, but I am going to go with CJ Stroud. I think he just barely is going to cruise over Bryce Young, even though Bryce Young has a Heisman Trophy. CJ Stroud already has more touchdown passes in college, and is just a better physical body, and I feel like he's just a better passer than Bryce Young is. But no offense to either of these guys. They're both great, but I still think that CJ Stroud is going to get the edge over physical ability and touchdowns.
All right, Chase, how are you feeling heading this draft? If you had, not necessarily who would you pick first overall, because maybe sometimes that goes to the most polished candidate at quarterback sometimes. Who do you think is going to finish their career as the best quarterback in the NFL?
Well, I think that this
of these
question,
4 quarterbacks are projected to go high.
I don't know what you mean, Zeke. And personally, Jacob, I don't think there's any bias to your statement at all. CJ Stroud will go down as the best quarterback in this draft class. Will Bryce Young go number 1 overall? Probably, but I don't think he should. If you just compare them, forget statistics. First of all, from a size perspective, not one of those people that say, okay, Bryce Young isn't going to succeed because of his size. That's not what I'm saying here at all. What I'm saying is the size could be an issue. And I'm looking at a great season that he had in 2021, and a significant drop in touchdowns in 2022, 15 less touchdowns. To me, that was concerning. He really didn't have that great of a performance, in my opinion, over his junior campaign here as a Crimson Tide, where Alabama didn't even make the college football playoff, which is a rarity these days. So I don't know. Bryce Young seemed very shaky to me this year. He only completed 64.5% of his passes. Then if you go over to a guy like CJ Stroud, And he's completely different. 41 touchdowns, 6 picks, a much better completion percentage of 66.3%, and has proven, like he did last year, completing 72% of his passes. And I think the thing with CJ Stroud is he reminds me a lot of Patrick Mahomes in the sense that when I needed him to come up with a drive against Georgia, he did. He came up with the drive and put his team in a great position to win. Unfortunately, their kicker just couldn't knock it down at the end of the game. But that doesn't stop CJ Stroud from having an amazing performance in that matchup. And I thought Ohio State was going to win it all this year because of him. He was the best player in college football. He's so much more poised. He has better pocket presence. He has better IQ. And I'm a casual Alabama fan, so I respect Bryce Young, and I hope he has a great career. I hope I'm wrong on this one. I hope it's Bryce Young. But I do got to go CJ Stroud. He's just too talented of a player and is more poised, has a higher IQ in the pocket.
All right, so apparently my computer has some technical difficulties real quick. Hey, Blake, what are you doing? You want to jump on here real quick and be our fourth person? Feel free to come on if you want. Message me on Instagram, Blake, because I see you're watching. If you want to come on for the next hour and debate, feel free to. Matthew Heiserman, who do you think is going to be the best quarterback of this draft?
Yeah, and you were saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be the person that goes number one, because I also think that Bryce Young is going to go number one. But if you're talking about like just how talented a quarterback in general is, I think that Anthony Richardson is the most talented quarterback going into this draft, as he had one of the best combines for a quarterback in NFL history. He ran a 4.43 40-yard dash. He jumped a 40.5-inch vertical, and he had a broad jump of 10 feet and 9 inches. And right there, that's a talented quarterback. And I don't think that you always have to look at the stats for everything, because maybe his passing yards and completion percentage isn't as good as Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. But another big part of his game that I think is going to be important is his ability to run. Because you see people like Justin Fields, who started this year as a quarterback that no one exactly knew like how good he could be this year. And his passing game was fine, but then he ran the ball. He got over 1,000 yards rushing this year, and that's really what took his game to the next step. So I think that running for Anthony Richardson is going to be a huge part of his game.
Zeke, if you don't mind.
See if Anthony Richardson could possibly take those. What?
I was going to say,
hold on a
if I
second,
could
Chase.
add.
I just want to say something real quick.
Yep.
So we'll have to see if Anthony Richardson, he obviously has the physical tools. We'll see if he can translate that into NFL tools. No one said Will Levis, who Mike Kuiper still has like as the number one quarterback on the board, but he's really the only one that thinks highly of him. Chase, what were you saying about? I think it was more of a rebuttal to Matthew.
Yeah, and the thing with Anthony Richardson is I was definitely going to talk about him, but I just had too much time to talk about CJ Stroud. I see the potential in Anthony Richardson where you have a guy, as you said, I don't think he ran for 1,000 yards, but he was really an amazing runner this year at Florida. And when you look at a guy like him, his completion percentage is concerning, to say the least. Completing 54% of your passes in college is very concerning. And the fact that he didn't have that high of a touchdown-interception ratio. That, to me, is very concerning. But he reminds me, and I'd like to compare players to current players to see kind of what their potential could be. He reminds me of a Josh Allen, a guy that can get the ball in the end zone, a guy that has IQ, could scramble out of the pocket, but at the same time could drop some darts. I don't know if you remember, but Josh Allen at the beginning of his career was not accurate, yet he was still able to throw the football pretty decently, but he wasn't overly accurate. I think that's what we're looking at here in Anthony Richardson, is we're seeing a guy that has a lot of potential, right? But I just don't know if he can improve that completion percentage the way Josh Allen did to now where he's one of the best passers in the NFL. He clearly turns the ball over more than Stroud. And if I'm just thinking about this right now. I feel like the top three right now, the consensus votes are Mahomes, Burrow, and Allen. To me, Stroud and Bryce Young are like Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes with their IQ, their poise in the pocket. Anthony Richardson to me is more Josh Allen. He doesn't have that high IQ. He could come up with big plays. He could also come up with big mistakes. And I think that is concerning. And even though I do appreciate you talking about the combine, because you're right, it was one of the best combines we've ever seen. We can't overreact to the draft combine like it's such a big deal. We need to see how he reads defenses, how he throws the ball over cornerbacks, his connection with wide receivers. We need to see all of these things actually be displayed. And I don't think we saw that as a passer at Florida. So, yes, the guy's really talented. He had a great combine. I see where you're going here. I see that Josh Allen potential in him. I just don't know if he can have that Josh Allen trajectory in that growth and completion percentage like we did see from Josh Allen.
All right, Jacob. So you were actually backed up by Chase with his opinion, and Chase, you're welcome for me saying that comparison about Josh Allen first, and then you just piggybacking on it. I know you're good. But Jacob, what do you have to say? Chase actually agrees with you for once about your quarterback.
Finally, yeah, like he's saying, like, sure, Anthony Richardson had a great combine. I want to look at a guy that like is normally a winner in these types of circumstances. Like, if he could throw the ball accurately, he can get his team to the playoffs, he could get touchdown passes, lead money drives, all that stuff like that. Anthony Richardson has not really proven like he's that type of guy, unlike CJ Stroud. And I feel like CJ Stroud's going to have an unbelievable career where at whatever team takes him, which I think the Colts will trade up and get the Bears pick. But I don't see Anthony Richardson really coming close to what CJ Stroud is going to become.
All right, sounds good. Real quick, Matthew, so you're the only one that didn't go CJ Stroud as the best quarterback by the end of the career. What are you thinking? What makes you think, just maybe from what you saw in a game from Anthony Richardson, that make you think he could take that next step? And also, do you think it's kind of dependent on where he goes in the draft and that he has to go into a good situation with some good coaching, like Josh Allen did to Buffalo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think definitely good coaching is part of it. And then I think him having pieces is also another huge part, because for Anthony Richardson, he seems like a player where, and Chase was saying that maybe he doesn't have like maybe he's not passing wise as talented as the other quarterbacks. If he has other good wide receivers there to help him, I think it'd go much smoother than if he has a bad wide receiver core. And I mentioned the running again, and I'm going to mention the running again. Even if his passing isn't reliable in season one, he can run the ball. He can work on his passing, and then eventually by seasons 2, 3 later on, he'll be able to play more of a passing role,
like Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Basically, what you're saying, he's more of like a system
Right,
QB. If he has a great system around him, he'll do good. If he doesn't, he won't do as great.
Kind of like Jalen Hurts. By the way,
oh my God!
If you want to hear more about that, check out our channel.
We're not getting into that because, yeah, Chase Colburn is delusional on the fact that Jalen Hurts is the second best quarterback in the NFL right now. All right, so let's go to our next topic. But before we do so, let's get some advertisement in here real quick. Not for Sports for Kids, but obviously if you check out their YouTube channel, which all these three lovely gentlemen are on Sports for Kids on YouTube. The Play-by-Play Sports Broadcasting Camp's 2023 schedule is out, and we're excited for it. We start in Dallas in early June, and we end in Pennsylvania, Green Lane, in late August. We make stops along the way in Atlanta, Los Angeles, Boston, North Jersey, Denver, Connecticut, Baltimore, Philly. It's going to be an absolute blast again this summer. We cannot wait to have you at one of our 16 locations. If you're in a place that's a little far from one of our locations that can't fly and get there, we do have a virtual camp as well during July 4th week. We look forward to seeing everybody there. All right, so our next topic of conversation is where I may have to argue with Matthew, because this is our head-to-head round where we put two of the guys head-to-head to go against each other. So Matthew's going to be off real quick, and we're going to bring these two one-on-one, and I will be the moderator of this one. We'll see how it goes. Jacob versus Chase. As you saw, the head-to-head round, and I think we kind of previewed this matchup because Chase had to make a comment, as he always does, because he talks too much. Who is the best player in the NBA? Chase, go ahead and make your argument for we know who you're going to make for your argument for.
The best player in the NBA is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And in my opinion, I see an argument for other people, and I'll let Jacob make that argument for himself. And we debated this a lot over the Philly camp. Of course, you guys want to go to that next year for play-by-play. What a great time that was. When you look at a guy like Giannis, I know he can't shoot the ball. My whole argument is he doesn't have to shoot the ball, because when you're a guy this physically dominant who could just drive around everybody, that has the strength and physicality that no one could really handle to put up 31 and 12 a game, or being, I may add, a very underrated passer, averaging nearly 6 assists a game. When you have that kind of talent, not to mention he's one of the best defensive players, being able to guard all 5 positions on the floor with his insane wingspan. He is incredible defensively, especially at the rim, and he's come up with big plays in the NBA Finals on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. 2 plays that are known: his crazy dunk, and then of course that block, which is going to go down.
Don't remind me about that.
It's one of the best plays ever. So the point is, I think that when you look at a guy like Giannis, yes, he can't shoot. And I'll even say that argument for you. Sure. But the point is, I don't think he needs to. Because teams, I'll let you say your argument. I'll let you go. I prove my point. Giannis is such a versatile player where he could do almost everything on the court. And it's gave him 2 MVPs, a championship, a finals MVP, and a Defensive Player of the Year award. There really isn't anything that could slow him down and stop his abilities on the floor. He's an all-time great. Jacob, make your argument for Luka Doncic. Sure.
Yes, that is
Jacob,
who I'm picking.
Yeah, let's go to who do you think number 1?
Luka Doncic for the Dallas Mavericks. And I know he's hurt, but who the heck cares? He averages 33 points per game, the most in the NBA this year. 8 assists per game, and has a field goal percentage of 50%. Luka Doncic has been one of the top players in the NBA over the past 3 to 4 years, and currently has the highest points per game with 33, and is carrying the Mavs over the past 3 to 4 years and having only really one decent or great player in Kristaps Porzingis until Kyrie Irving came. And maybe you might say Dirk Nowitzki, but he retired a year. He only played with them for 1 year, and then also is very good in the playoffs. And I feel like if Luka does not play for the Mavs, this team cannot make the playoffs. But if he is playing, the Mavs are a finals contender. Even though he's not a great defensive player, according to Chase, he doesn't need to play defense.
What do you mean he doesn't need to play defense?
You just said that that Giannis doesn't have to shoot or know how to shoot. So Jacob is saying he doesn't have to play defense. This is what he's arguing.
So here's
annihilate that argument.
So here's my argument on that, Jacob, is shooting is a part of offense. Defense is not a part of defense. Defense is defense. You're saying he's a complete liability on one side of the ball. I'm saying Giannis is a liability on part of one side of the ball. But the point is, Luka can't do anything on defense. No offense, Luka. If you're listening to this, I'd love to talk to you. You're one of my favorite players to watch in the league. You even admitted on Dude Perfect that you are not a good defender. You admitted it yourself. You cannot play defense. Right? Let's just get that out of the way right now. So,
well, let's get this out of the way real quick. Let's get this out of the way real quick. If Luka Doncic is watching this stream, we went way further than I ever expected. But continue, Chase.
So, here's what I'm saying, right? If you look at a guy like Luka Doncic, he's a complete liability on one side of the basketball. The point is, Giannis, while he's a liability on shooting, has not affected his offensive play. Because if you're able to put up 31 points a game, clearly you have talent on the offensive end, which means you don't have shooting. If anything, it describes how dominant he is in the paint. And I'd argue he is more dominant in the paint than 2 of the top centers in the league, Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. Because of his athleticism driving in, his ability to stay out of foul trouble, his ability to drive through contact, it's incredible. Everything that Giannis is able to do. But to say that there's such a big difference between being a liability on part of one side of the ball, between being a liability on all of one side of the ball. That's where I think I'm losing you there in that argument. But respond. Let's keep going back for it.
All right,
respond,
Jacob. So go back at him. Luka controls. Luka I'm sorry y'all have to see my face and the graphics aren't working right now. We're having some technical difficulties. But Jake, if I want to hear your argument, is Luka make up for it that much since he's so diverse on the offensive side that his defense doesn't matter?
No, it's not. What side of the ball gets you points? It's offense. This guy averages the most points in the NBA. Wow, what a coincidence. See, with defense, one guy cannot carry an entire team of defense. That's why there's 5 guys on the court. So he doesn't necessarily need to play defense. And Giannis, according to Chase, doesn't need to shoot the ball. Except the thing is, the easiest way to stop Giannis is to foul him because he can't shoot free throws, especially if you're playing at the Footprint Center where all the fans are counting 1, 2, 3. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but they did do that. And so that's what I think his weak spot is, and that makes him not as skillful as Luka Doncic is.
So let me say this because I have many arguments to respond to that. So let me start off by addressing your first point, which I understood your argument initially when you said a player could carry an offensive end, but they can't carry the defense. I get it. What is currently holding Dallas back? The defensive side of the ball. That is what is holding them back from a championship. And you know what? They had some good defensive players.
All right.
Julius Finney-Smith. They had other guys that could guard.
Why did they make the conference finals last year?
You need a guy that can at least play somewhat defense. Steph Curry had a year where he led the league in steals. Luka can't do anything on the defensive side of the ball. That's number one. Number two, your point to addressing Giannis's free throws, and you mentioned this the last time too. Whenever Giannis shoots free throws, he's putting up a lot of points because even though he's inefficient, he's still going to make a lot of free throws. The point is,
all right.
If Giannis continues to put up 25, 30 points
I know y'all could argue this all day long.
Free throws a game, then he's clear.
And there goes the mute button on
Chase.
Okay
shooting the ball, and is it good enough off?
There goes the mute button on Chase. All right, so we are done with you guys. I know you could argue with this all day long, but it is time for us to bring Matthew back on because he's going to have to argue against me because I have a better argument than both you two against who's the best player in the NBA. It's not Luka. Whoop. There we go. Matthew, you there, bud?
Yeah.
There we go. All right, cool. All right, so it is not Luka. It is not Giannis. Matthew, well, you might think it's one of those. So I'm going to let you talk first because I wasn't even planning on debating this tonight. But since someone didn't show up, I have to. Matthew, who do you think the best player in the NBA is?
So I do think it's Giannis too. And they were talking about free throws, and I was at a Wizards game recently, and they were playing the Bucks, and Giannis went to the line more than 10 times, and it's ridiculous, and he gets points off of that. Free way of getting points, even if he doesn't make them all, he's still getting points on at least some of them. He averages 12.7 free throw attempts per game, which blows my mind that a player is able to get fouled that much and he still makes his shots. Like he'll get a few in, and that adds up. And the fact that he can play on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, being fourth in the league in scoring, being second in the league in rebounds, and being second in the league in field goal percentage is insane. And then he's also still getting some assists in there at 5.5 on the year, because I feel like he is such a good player and he's able to make such a big impact on the game when he is playing.
All right, so my argument is we talked about, let's see what we talked about. He's good on the offensive side of the ball. Someone that takes a lot of free throws. The Giannis Antetokounmpo, and my guy makes those. Without a doubt, the best player in the NBA right now. He is leading the league in scoring. As Jacob incidentally said, the wrong person is leading the league in scoring. Embiid is leading over Luka right now. Embiid is a very good free throw shooter. Hits free throws at an 85% clip when Giannis only hits them at 65%. And in the paint, there is no better defender in the NBA, and that is for sure. that whole stifle tower crap that is occurring in Minnesota is the most overrated player in the history of the NBA, defensive player, because as Joel Embiid just showed us this past week by dominating that stifle tower of defense that they have up there in Minnesota. But Joel in the paint is just as good at shot blocking as almost any player. Giannis is very good defensively. I agree. I will agree with you guys on that. But I think where Joel has the upper hand is the fact he can hit free throws down the stretch when if you're a Bucks fan, you might be a little nervous Giannis is at the free throw line. I'm usually not nervous when Joel's at the free throw line. He hits them most of the time. What do you have to say to that, Matthew?
And I agree that Joel Embiid is a great player, but I think that Giannis, I feel like he just can play more on the offensive side. And the points, Joel Embiid leads the league in points, but I feel like Giannis can start at the top of the key and he can drive all the way in for a layup. As Embiid, against a good defender, I feel like Embiid would kind of be kept there towards the paint, and he can still score, but Giannis has more area to work as he's faster and he's more athletic, and I feel like that is a big part where he is just able to make his own shots more rather than having to take shots in the paint. And he most times does because, as it's been discussed, he's not a shooter, but he can get to the paint and make his own shots in the paint rather than being in this position where if he gets the ball, he has to shoot it in that spot because it's harder for him to move around and get other shots.
All right, so I agree with you completely. You say he's more athletic. He probably is. He's more versatile. That's where I might disagree with you because if someone had a kick out three and the ball was dished out to Joel Embiid or Giannis, I'm much more trusting Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, out of the top 5 scorers in the NBA right now, has the second highest three-point percentage behind Damian Lillard and the fourth highest in the top 10 scorers in the NBA with 3 points. He's almost 10 points higher percentage-wise on 3 points for his whole career. So I think you're underestimating how versatile Joel Embiid is really. He's really good at popping out for a 3-point shot, especially from the top of the key. We've seen him even hitting turnaround jumpers. The three of us were live seeing him kick Jokic's butt all over the court and hitting some threes in that game as well. So I think you had a great argument, Matthew. But I think Joel Embiid's 3-point shooting is just versatile enough. In fact, a lot of Sixers fans get upset at him for not going in the paint enough. So I think you had a great argument, but I think the 3-point shooting makes Joel just that much better. Right now, I think Giannis has had parts of his career where he's better, but right now I'm taking Joel the way he's playing this year and the way he's doing it. So that's our head-to-head topic. So let's bring back the other two. I think everybody made some great arguments. Let's head to our next topic. Well, I can't just agree with him. I have to make an argument, but I think Joel is easily up there. All right, so we're talking about the NBA. We're coming down to the end of it. More or less, 4 teams are NBA title contenders. I was going to say it was Phoenix and Denver out west, but now we don't know how long and how much effect the chemistry is going to have on Kevin Durant being out for 3 weeks. And then in the East, it's been Boston and Milwaukee. Matthew, are there any other teams? Are there more than 4 teams or less than 4 teams that are going to compete for an NBA title this year that you can see competing?
So I don't think that the Suns are going to be there, because we saw that KD got hurt, and of course he is supposed to be back in the playoffs. But I just feel like there's almost like it's too many players there that need the ball to thrive, and maybe they can't get it to KD and Devin Booker and Chris Paul on when they want the ball. And maybe, I'm not saying this is going to be completely true, but it might lower their, or not just stats, because it probably will lower their stats, but I feel like it might make them worse of a player when they're all playing together rather than kind of leading their own team. And I think that Devin Booker is especially able to thrive without Kevin Durant because Chris Paul is one of the best passers in NBA history, and DeAndre Ayton's more worried about his paint game. So he's not really disrupting Devin Booker. But I feel like now with Kevin Durant, I don't know how that's going to work with the two of them. And I think that Kevin Durant and Chris Paul is also going to work well, and Kevin Durant and DeAndre Ayton. But I don't know how two primary scorers that should be the main scorers on their team are going to do as secondary or primary scorers, depending on how they use them.
All right, so Matthew, well, give me a number then, because it sounds like you just eliminated Phoenix from the conversation. How many teams in the NBA could you see lifting the trophy when it comes to late June, July?
I can see 5 teams.
Five teams. So and Phoenix isn't one of them. So who are the 5?
No. So I think that my 5 would be the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Bucks, the Celtics, and the 76ers.
Okay, so he says the Sixers are there in the East, and all of a sudden, I think Chase apparently agrees with you. I think it's about the Warriors. So Chase, 4 or more or less, how many teams do you have, and why is the Warriors one of them apparently?
4 teams. Okay, I get the Warriors, and the part that's concerning about the Golden State Warriors is their road play. They have not been good on the road this year.
Exactly.
But you really think I'm going to say the defending champs of Steph Curry that have gotten healthy and still one of the top seeds in the Western Conference, you're going to say they're not a contender? I'm sorry, you can't eliminate Steph Curry from the conversation, especially with the way they've been playing at home this year. If they could get a top seed, maybe a 4th seed or a 3 seed, if they get healthy here, they're going to have a nice path with some road games here. And if they could, with home games, and if they could start to get their road play up just a tiny bit, just like that, they're going to be contenders. Each of us can agree that the Bucks and Celtics are contenders, even though the Celtics have struggled recently. The Bucks have won, I think, 18 and 19, something like that. That's just not normal. They have the best player in the league, so what else do you expect? I think Milwaukee and Boston for sure. Denver, who hot take or spoiler alert, is my NBA champion. So just throwing that out there real quick. So Denver is obviously a contender if I have them as my champ. The Warriors are contenders. I wouldn't count Phoenix out yet. And I get Matthew's argument, and we talked about this on Sports for Kids. If something doesn't gel right, if they have too much talent and there's not enough chemistry there, I understand that. I still do think you have to put them as contenders, especially since it looks like Durant is going to be back for the beginning of the playoffs. I'm not going to put Sacramento. I'm not going to put Memphis. I'm not going to put the Clippers. The team that I would argue is I was thinking about Philadelphia because they do have Joel Embiid. The other team I could also see coming into the conversation here is Cleveland. Jacob, Cleveland. And the reason why I say that is they're a young team that has a lot of talent. They have a number 1 guy in Donovan Mitchell who's been scoring the ball amazingly. A guy like Darius Garland who could shoot the ball efficiently. I think he's shooting over 50% from 3 since the new year or something like that. And he's an incredible facilitator. You have 2 very locked down. In fact, 2 of the top 4 defensive rating players in the NBA, Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, who are each capable offensively of grabbing rebounds and putting in easy baskets, and they have a ton of depth. They have a team that gels. They have a team that not a lot of people are talking about. They remind me a lot of the 2020 Miami Heat. So while I wouldn't put them as contenders, I'm just telling you I would not be surprised to see Donovan Mitchell being the Eastern Conference Player of the Year and seeing the Cleveland Cavaliers being 1 series away from an NBA championship.
All right,
That's
Jacob.
all I'm going to say. I don't know if they will. All I'm saying is I wouldn't be too surprised by it. So.
Surprise! I can't get Chase to stop talking to get to the next person. Anybody else see a surprise?
I think 5. I think at least 5, maybe.
So
at least
we're
5,
going
maybe
more,
7.
Chase and Matt, maybe 7. Chase and Matthew both went over real quick before Jacob goes. We want to show that Claudia Muncie commented, "Go Jacob!" But as we know here, we never let Jacob win anything. So we'll see. But maybe he'll be able to pull out a win here. We'll find out. Maybe I'll be nice to him tonight.
He won't be able to.
So. Jacob, do you think it's more than 4 teams? Do you think it's 4 teams? Who do you have competing for the NBA title?
So I'm definitely gonna put the Bucks and Celtics. Those have been the 2 top teams in the NBA over the past this new year in 2023. I'm gonna put the Suns up there. You can't count them out yet, even though Durant's out. They're still going to be great. They still have DeAndre, and they still have Booker, and they still have Chris Paul. Now, if one of those guys gets injured, it might be going downhill from there, but I won't count them out yet. And then you got the Denver Nuggets, which I'm definitely are going to put in there. And then I'm going to say it's going to be slightly more and it's going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers that are going to make the conference finals. I think they're going to knock out either the Bucks or the Celtics. I think the Bucks are going to fall down, and the Cavs are going to win a series against the Bucks, and then the Celtics are going to lose in the conference finals, all because it's such a young team, and literally, like, there's not really many holes in that starting lineup. Evan Mobley nearly won Rookie of the Year last year. Then you got Jared Allen, who has proven to be at least, he's not going to be the greatest center in the NBA, but he is decent enough to get layups in the paint and possibly shoot some mid-range jumpers. And then you also have, maybe small forwards, maybe that tiny little hole there, but you still have Darius Garland. You still have Donovan Mitchell, the man that scored 71 points in a game, which is insane. So, and Darius Garland, who has really been amazing with passing the ball and shooting the ball, plus what Chase said. So I'm going to say it's just barely over 4 teams, but yeah, I'm going to say 4 teams have a chance to make the finals. I'm not going to put Golden State up there just because how horrible their road play has
Come
been.
on, Jacob, you're doing so well. You're doing so well.
They have a chance. They have a chance, but they have to get a top 3 seed if they want any chance to make the championship. I don't think they just haven't been playing well on the road.
Just the Warriors need to come up with their seeding to get like a hot, like, I don't know how you say this, like get at least the 4 seed if they want to have a chance, but they're not on the 4 seed yet.
I think they would need to get the top 2.
Sacramento is frauds.
No, I just think they're a young team that's a very good basketball team, but I don't think they have enough. The
fact defense is worse than the Pistons.
I understand that.
But what does that mean? That doesn't mean much because Pistons are awesome.
They're still finding a way to be 38-26, Chase. You don't find a way to win this far into the season. The Jazz in the beginning of the season, that was a fraud. There's no way you go this far into an NBA season as a fraud. It doesn't happen. It's too long of a season, and there's too many teams. Now, do I think they have a chance?
Regular season games and defense wins championships.
I understand. I'm not saying they're not a fraud. They're not. I didn't say they're going to compete for a title, but I think
they'll be eliminated in the first round
against the Timberwolves. Maybe if the Mavericks or Lakers face them in round 1, not against the Timberwolves.
Oh yeah, in Sports for Kids, I said Lakers are team to beat totally, and Chase completely freaked out. But
I understand. Chase freaks out once in a while. All right, so we're going to move on to our next topic in a second. Real quick, we just want to remind you, if you get a chance to subscribe to the YouTube channel at Student Sports Network and follow us on all the social medias at Play by Play Camps on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and playbuyplaycamps.com. So let's transition that into play-by-play camps, starting in Dallas, heading to Green Lane, everywhere else this summer. We're going to have an absolute blast teaching students like these 3 lovely gentlemen how to get into sports broadcasting, how to become better communicators, how to become better sports broadcasters. It's going to be an absolute blast again this summer. Go to playbuyplaycamps.com to sign up. So our 4th and final topic before we get the final thoughts this evening. I'm glad you all stuck around with us. We hope you're enjoying the show. Let us know who you think's winning in the comments. It's kind of going to be up to you guys who you think's going to win it. Obviously, I get a vote too because I'm the producer of the show. But let me know who you think who's winning.
And I get to vote.
So, quick question is our quick question of the evening. How much would you pay Lamar Jackson and Daniel Jones? 2 big names in the NFL right now. Daniel Jones, I don't know how big of a name he is really, but somehow he's getting paid $40 million a year for the next 4 years. And Lamar Jackson sitting on the sidelines, might not even play this year because I don't think he likes the Ravens very much. But Chase likes the Ravens because he's a Ravens fan. So Matthew Heisman, if you were the GM of fictional football team, you had the choice between these 2 quarterbacks. First off, answer real quick to me because this is going to be a quick topic. Chase, do you think you can hold it to be a quick topic?
Maybe.
All right, we're going to have to find a way. Matthew, which of the really quick, just answer with their names. Who would you rather have, Lamar Jackson or Daniel Jones?
Lamar Jackson.
All right, Lamar Jackson. Okay, so Daniel Jones just got paid $40 million a year. How much would you pay Daniel Jones, and how much would you pay Lamar Jackson, Matthew?
I mean, when you see players like Mahomes getting paid $45 million a year and Josh Allen being paid around $43 million a year, it kind of sounds ridiculous that Daniel Jones is being paid $40 million. And I feel like Lamar should be switched with Daniel Jones here. I understand Lamar being paid $40 million as he's already proven himself to be able to be a great quarterback. But I feel like Daniel Jones, he should have a contract of like $35 million, $30 million. But I don't think that he's good enough to be getting $40 million a year.
I completely agree with you, Matthew. I think it's absolutely asinine that man is getting paid $40 million after watching him as an Eagles fan face the Eagles this year. It was never pretty at all. Chase, you're obviously a Ravens fan. This is a topic near and dear to your heart.
I could talk about this for hours.
For hours, I know, but we got to keep it quick because we've already run out 42 minutes here, and I want to keep this under an hour show.
When he says quick, like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's quick for Chase. Are you not worried about – do you think the reason he's not getting paid is because of his injury history and the fact he is a running quarterback, and running quarterbacks don't have a longevity in this league? Usually after 5 years, things change for them. And so answer me that question and then tell me how much you would pay each of these quarterbacks.
That's a yes and no, because I think it's yes because he's injured, not because he's a running quarterback. Because I think they're just worried that he's fragile. I don't think the running part, he's never actually gotten hurt when running the ball. So I get that it does tear your body and all that, but I don't think they're concerned about the running system. I think they can build around the running system. I think the main concern is the injuries. And I think another concern is that, and if you look at what the Ravens did here with the non-exclusive tag, you can learn more on the Cool Sports newsletter. Please subscribe to my newsletter. But what I was talking about is that with Lamar Jackson, with the non-exclusive tag, not only is a team going to have to invest a lot of money to get Lamar, because the Ravens, if it's under $200 million, will most likely match with what I've been hearing recently. So they're going to have to offer more than $200 million guaranteed. And then to just get him and hope the Ravens aren't going to match. And then on top of that, have to give up 2 first-round picks. So there also has to be a lot of risk involved. Would you give up a lot of money, a lot of your cap space, and a lot of your draft picks for a guy that's won 1 playoff game and missed the remainder of the last 2 seasons? I don't think so. I don't think Atlanta's going to do it. Not Las Vegas, not Washington, not the Jets. It looks like they're pursuing Aaron Rodgers, and so on and so forth. No one's going to pay him that. So the point is, if Lamar and agents would have been signed a long time ago, Lamar's going to be in Baltimore next year. And I'm not saying this because I'm biased. The Ravens just have all the control. A team's not going to pay him that much money, knowing they're also going to have to give away 2 first-round picks. Is Lamar Jackson worth more than Deshaun Watson? Yes, but that was an anomaly. Jacob, the Browns were stupid. They were dumb.
That was really stupid.
It was a really dumb decision. And
a guy that sexually assaulted 21 women somehow gets like 200.
Right. But the point is, that was a really dumb decision. That was an anomaly. The owners don't want to have to raise the salary cap and pay more money if a quarterback's taking up this much salary cap. I'm sure they had a collusion. They want to change the quarterback market. So I think Lamar Jackson's worth about what Kyler Murray got in guaranteed money. Deshaun Watson's an anomaly. I don't know how he got that money. The bottom line is this. Lamar Jackson's worth a lot of money, but without an agent, he has been getting scammed, and he will be in Baltimore mainly because of how they handled this non-exclusive tag. Lamar screwed it up. He didn't get his money. He turned out $160 million guaranteed. Now he may even get less than that with this whole non-exclusive tag. The Ravens were right, and we'll see how the situation plays out. Is Lamar Jackson worth more than Deshaun Watson? Yes, but not the money that Deshaun Watson got, if that makes sense.
All right, Chase. Well, how much are you paying? If you're at GM, what do you think is a fair market value for Lamar Jackson? What do you think is a fair market value for a man that's getting overpaid?
Well, it's tough because he is 4th best in winning percentage of all time behind Roger Staubach, Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes, but he's won 1 playoff game. And I don't know if that's because of the lack of receivers. We saw what Jalen Hurts did. His IQ is lacking a little bit, even though I do think he can win the Super Bowl one day with this running system. My thing, I would pay him $40 million a year. I think that maybe a little over $40 million a year. I'd pay him more than Daniel Jones, I guess is what I'm trying to say here.
All right. Well, what do you think Daniel Jones is actually worth? Then we're going to go to Jacob.
What do I think Daniel Jones is actually worth? $25 million a year?
Wow. So you have no faith in the former Duke product.
No offense, Danny Dimes. You're not that. You're good, but you're not that good. I don't know why they signed him to that much money. That's a different story.
All right, Jacob. So what was stupider, the Browns signing how much money they're paying their quarterback, or the Giants how much they're paying their quarterback?
Well, at least Deshaun Watson's had something go right for him in his career. At least more than once. He's had at least 3 great seasons in his entire career. But paying Daniel Jones this much money is like paying Baker Mayfield something like that, because he's really only done the same exact things as Baker Mayfield has done. He has won 1 playoff game. He's had very mediocre seasons until he finally wins a playoff game, and then he's probably going to eventually fall off, and I don't think he's going to be worth that type of money. And clearly, Baker Mayfield is not that great of a quarterback. If you guys didn't tell, and I think all of us could tell, unless you guys live under a rock. But anyway, so yeah, I think Daniel Jones being paid that much money I think it's very close to being as stupid as paying Deshaun Watson that much, but I think Deshaun at least he may improve, but I don't think he's worth that much.
All right, Jacob. So how much are you, if you're a GM, how much are you paying Lamar Jackson? How much are you paying Daniel Jones?
I agree with what Chase is saying. Probably a little more than 40 mil a year. I don't think he's better than Patrick Mahomes, but I also don't think he's better than Josh Allen. So I think he just gets right below Josh Allen. And then, like, what was the other thing you said?
How much you paying Daniel Jones?
Oh yeah. I don't know. Honestly, I don't want to put him that high. I want to say like between 20 and 30 mil.
All right, so you're about the same pace as Chase. I mean, 30
Yeah.
million seems about right where you're a decent quarterback, but I don't know how they pay him when he hasn't proven anything to them yet.
It's like the same thing with Baker Mayfield.
I think they were kind of between a rock and a hard place because they gave this franchise tag to Saquon.
I know,
but
they can't sign a running back, but sign him to less money. Don't pay him 160.
Then
Sign
he
him,
wouldn't,
but
he
just
wouldn't
not-
have signed Chase. He wanted $45 million. He wasn't going to.
Who
sign
is going
for
to pay him
anything less than $30 million.
$45 million besides the Giants? Zeke?
I mean, he already had a contract this year, so he would have either sat out, which I think was what Lamar Jackson actually will do, or he's going to play. Those are the two options. All right.
He won't sit out. No one wants him. He can't afford to sit out.
If someone's quarterback gets hurt week 2,
Zeke,
tells
stop
me they'll be
arguing.
like,
You know that he's
let's
going to
get-
continue.
all right.
2 first-round picks and sign him to great money. That makes a lot of sense.
If the Jets get their quarterback and he gets hurt week 1, it might happen. All right, so let's go to our final thoughts. So final thoughts. A student will have one chance to bring out a hot take or a rant that we want to hear them, that we think or that they are very passionate about. So let's get all the talking out of the way first. Chase, what is your final thought?
Well, it's not probably what I'm expecting, but with March Madness coming up, I do want to make a hot take. I think the 2021 March Madness, not last year's, the one before, was the best March Madness we have ever seen. You know, what do you want in March Madness? Some close games, some upsets, some crazy moments. This had it all. Let's start off with the upsets. 15 seed Oral Roberts upset number 2 Ohio State to make the Sweet 16. Albine Christian, a 14th seed, upset Texas. Number 13 seed Ohio, upset Virginia. 13th seed North Texas Mean Green got their first ever NCAA tournament victory by upsetting Purdue. And Oregon State, who finished the regular season with a 10-10 conference record, went all the way to the Elite Eight and came just 6 shorts shy of a Final Four appearance. And of course, as they said, from the first 4 to the Final Four, UCLA, an 11th seed, went all the way to the Final Four, just a buzzer beater away from making the national championship game. You also won close games, upsets, but of course close games, right? Well, a lot of those upsets were close games, and then we saw the shootout between UCLA and Alabama that ended in overtime. UCLA ended up taking that one. The Sweet 16 matchup between Oral Roberts and Arkansas, and maybe the best matchup of all time between Gonzaga and UCLA in the Final Four, which ended in maybe the craziest moment in college basketball history, with Jalen Suggs knocking it down from half court. And of course, we're here at Sports Broadcasting Camp. You got to have some good commentating lines to go along with it. Iron Eagles, it's March. Expect the unexpected. Believe the unbelievable. Bill Raftery's kiss call after Jalen Suggs knocked down that half-court shot. His break the heart in the national championship game when Davion Mitchell knocked down that three-pointer. And, of course, Jim Nance's final call, Coach Drew and Baylor complete college basketball's greatest rebound and rebuild with a championship. This was the year that they needed to respond. 2020 March Madness was canceled due to COVID-19. Us college basketball fans needed a tournament to hype us up, a tournament, one of the best of all time, to show how special March Madness is after a year without it, having to go 2 years to wait for the next one. That's exactly what we got. I can't wait for March Madness this year, but I doubt it lives up to the absolutely amazingness of that 2021 March Madness. That is the greatest March Madness tournament of all time. Drop the mic.
All right. I'm not sure I agree with you because it seems weird. There wasn't fans and I didn't really care about the final. So I don't know if I agree with you completely, but great point out of you, Chase Coburn. Jacob, it's time for your final thoughts.
All right. My final thought is that the Marquette Golden Eagles are complete frauds. And the thing is, the teams that they have beaten have been by their largest win is I don't know. Like, most of these games have been super duper close. They beat Xavier by 1. They beat Creighton by 2. They beat DePaul, who's 10-22 by only 6. For a team that's number 6 in the country, that is just not what you expect from to only win by 6 over a 10-22 team. Also, then you beat St. John's by 2 weeks in a row. And also, the thing is, most of these guys on this roster don't even have faces, which kind of is looking scary because I feel like most of these players should be well known, right? Well, no, because since when was Marquette really ever good like they have been before? They haven't. That's why I think they're complete frauds. That's my final thought.
All right, Jacob, a good final thought. Dwayne Wade would probably have something to say about that. He likes Marquette a lot since he went there and went far in the tournament. And I would say there's always one Big East team that goes far in the tournament. We'll have to see if Marquette is that team this year or if it'll be one of the other teams that.
It's UConn.
Well, we'll see. UConn plays Marquette this upcoming week. So, last final thought of the night. Matthew, what is your final thought?
So I was saying before the recording that I thought that the Warriors were going to win the finals. And as I said that later in this episode, I felt like that was less and less of a hot take, but I'm still going to say it. And I was looking at their 2021 to 2022 roster, and you can look at it too, compared to their 2022-2023, there's changes in it, but the changes are small players that didn't necessarily make a big impact. Like Chris Chioza, he's not there. Damian Lee, he's not there. Those players don't make an impact, but the big players that you need to be there are still there. Andrew Wiggins didn't leave. Draymond Green didn't leave. Jordan Poole's still there. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, they're all there. And I feel like it's been said already that they've been terrible on the road. I feel like if you're trying to make a good argument about something, saying they've been bad on the road isn't making a good argument. I feel like that's just a problem that they're going through right now that they can easily overcome by playoff time. That this is just a small little road bump, but I feel like you're overreacting a lot by saying that this could be the reason that they lose in the playoffs. And also from previous years, we know never go against Curry in the playoffs, never go against Thompson in the playoffs, and he wasn't even playing as good as he usually is last year. Now he's back to his normal self, and I don't see why a team that won the championship last year can't do it again, or they can't do it again this year if their team has barely changed.
All right, great take, Matthew. We'll have to see. I'm not sure that Draymond Green is still Draymond Green. I think he's kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit. I think that's the biggest change.
Can I say something real quick?
What is it about, Chase? Because I want to give out I need to give out the penny for the thoughts and give out the winner this evening.
It's just about the road games real quick. They've won 21% of their games on the road. Great. So 7-25. So I don't know about that, but
it's okay. We'll see. That's all that matters. Matthew gave that take. I think the only thing holding them back is Draymond Green possibly not being Draymond. So let's see. Who gets the penny for their thoughts this evening? Unfortunately, y'all had to see my ugly mug because the graphics didn't work and we didn't have one kid show up. But tonight, because he saved our butt, because otherwise I'd have to just listen to Jacob and Chase talk, without a doubt, the person that gets a penny for their thoughts is Matthew. Congratulations. You get a penny for your thoughts. I don't have to have Chase or Jacob anymore get a penny for their thoughts. Jacob, well, we know he doesn't know what the winning is because he's a Detroit and Cleveland fan. Chase talked too much as always, and Matthew saved our butt. So Matthew gets the penny for his thoughts.
Go check out Sports for Kids. We'll see the answer to that one. I'm going harder now on our next episode. I got to take down Matthew.
Zeke, what the heck, man?
Jacob, you're a Lions fan, please.
Picking on.
I'm a Cavs fan. We won one in 2016, but whatever.
7 years ago.
Play sports broadcasting camps. And now we are going, guys, like I said, make sure you subscribe, and we will do the March Madness preview next
Peace, guys.
Bye.
No, I should have got the penny for the thoughts. Just saying.
Subscribe to Sports for Kids, guys.
Subscribe to Sports for Kids. I think Zeke's cutting out.
Come on. I know we're still on air, but I'm trying to end this broadcast, but it's not letting me.
All right, take care, guys. Chase
Come
Coburn
on, you
alongside Jacob
computer.
Muncie, Matthew Heisman, and Zeke. We'll see you on Sports for Kids. Take care, guys.